It's like the cue, you knew I was coming.
Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. Ladies and gentlemen, comb your hair because we're about to go mainstream. Got some new Q for you, and we're going to cover it. Keep in mind, I always read through this one time before doing any analysis, so if you want to skip right through to that, just click on the timestamp below. Here we go, post 1785. Reading EDT time, which would be 3 minutes after the hour of 1. We get this post right here showing QAnon trending. Q says sample 3 and proceeds to dump some links on us. And at the bottom says Twitter, today in brackets, releases ban. Was Twitter told to by MSM to demonstrate impact? Do you think they got the 4 a.m. in brackets memo? Coincidence? All for a conspiracy? Enjoy the show. Q. Post 1786. Coming in at 7 minutes after the hour of 1. Q adds onto all this and says, you are now mainstream. Handle with care. The Great Awakening. Where we go one, we go all. Q. Post 1787, 15 minutes after the hour of 1, responding to an Anon who says, established number of Patriots reach, deletions, a warning to Steyer. Q says, worldwide in brackets, eyes on 300 to 350 mm, tracking 52 to 58 mm. Responding to a second Anon says, you didn't think common sense was simply a coincidence, did you? Think email. Think hashtag 1776. But how did we know an article was going to be dropped later that night? Q. Post 1788. 6 minutes after the hour of 2, responding to an Anon who says, finally, someone asked about Q. Q says, who is the one person who can answer? POTUS. Less than 10 in brackets. Q. Post 1789. 54 minutes after the hour of 2, responding to an Anon who gives this graphic right here. It's actually from an old Q post. You can count the people who have the full picture on 2 hands. Of those, less than 10 people, only 3 are non-military. Why is this relevant? Game theory. Outside of a potential operator who has been dialed in with orders specific to his or her mission, nobody else has this information. Operators never divulge. Alice in Wonderland. Q adds on, mainstream equals when you are now the news. Mainstream equals when a White House pool reporter asks about you. Mainstream equals when coordinated attacks, waves against you continue to occur. Game theory. Q. Post 1790. 45 minutes after the hour of 3, we get this. Sample 3+ in brackets. We got more links. MSM coordination, pre-planning has its advantages. Q. Post 1791, 50 minutes after the hour of 3. Adding on to that, did you notice the Fox News coverage of QAnon last night? Targeted? Why isn't Fox News part of the MSM coordinated blitz attack? Logical thinking. POTUS. Q. Post 1792, 16 minutes after the hour of 4. What happens when you are a threat to the MSM/old guard? And we have a Twitter link. Coincidence? Threat/scare tactics deployed. Fear not. Q. Post 1793, 29 minutes after the hour of 5, responding to an Anon that says, Juan on Fox talking about Q at rally. Q says, right after we mentioned Fox News. What a coincidence. Phishing is fun. Q. All right, quick story before we get started. I wanted to share this with you really quick. You remember the family from yesterday's video, and if you don't remember the video or if you haven't seen the video, please go watch that from yesterday. But there was a man holding up a Q sign at the Trump rally, and President Trump pointed him out, and then Q asked later if we could figure out who it was. Well, it turned out to be this family right here who posted on Reddit. Q just got home from rally. Here's the back of the Q. Already posted a front picture of the Q earlier post, and of course it says QAnon.pub right there. Very, very cool, and this whole thing absolutely blew up on Reddit, which incidentally had a massive hack today. That's a coincidence that will later be transferred into a conspiracy theory, won't it? All right. So if you remember, I asked in my video, if anybody knows this family or whatever, please get them in touch with me. I just wanted to ask them, about their story or whatever. I always like knowing who it is or knowing a little bit about who they are. And anyway, so I got this comment from this Jennifer Buteau. And I'm sorry, I'm going to use your name because I went to your Twitter handle and it just turned out to be your name. So she said, hello, that's my Q. I painted red, white, blue sparkles on the front, and back had the QAnon.pub. We also had posters with your YouTube link. There's a couple pictures of it floating around. Love your work. I'd love my piece of cake. So would my hubby and son, LOL. Well, you guys are welcome for cake anytime, and you know that already. And I want to thank you for posting this picture right here. QAnon.pub. YouTube lookups, War Drummer in Pursuit of Truth. Where we go one, we go all. Okay, so number one, thank you very much for putting me on your sign. I might be a little bit biased, but I like your taste. Very cool and stuff. And there was tons of QAnon people representing, yeah? So much so that the mainstream media had an aneurysm about this whole thing. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But to you, Patriots right there, thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate the shout out. It was very cool what you did, and I hope you understand the magnitude of what just happened in that rally. I think you do. You were there. So very cool story to begin with. Let's get going. All right, first post, 1785. We get taken to this. Looks like what's trending in the United States. How about that? QAnon sitting there right at number 17. But I'm sure it's just another coincidence that we're sitting at number 17. Anyway, Q goes on to say sample 3. And we've had sample 1 and 2 already. And you can see there's a ton of links right here. Q says Twitter today releases ban. Was Twitter told by MSM to demonstrate impact? Do you think they got the 4 a.m. memo? Coincidence? All for a conspiracy? Enjoy the show, Q. All right, you can see what's going on here. We have a concentrated effort by the mainstream media all coming out at once. And we'll get to a couple of links in just a second. Q says Twitter today releases ban. If you've been following me, you know that I've been active on Twitter over the last 24 hours. I think it's really, really important when they're trying to ban us for us to be even louder and to call out the people who are trying to call us out. It's important right now. This is a battle for information, and we're not going to get it by being a bunch of shrinking violets and letting them do whatever they want and then just complaining about it after the fact. We've got to be vocal. We've got to be ready to go. So Q is alluding here to today, sample 3, today, 4 a.m., all in brackets. And I think you all understand what's going on here. Today, we got our sample 3 of our 4 a.m. talking points. And if you're new to the QAnon experience, what we're talking about with 4 a.m. was the time that the mainstream media conglomerates would put out basically a script. And it would get sent out to all the different, whether it's print news or media news, TV, whatnot. All those same talking points got sent out at 4 a.m., reacting either to the previous news of the day. So that's how we get our quote unquote mainstream media news. And as you can see here, we've got a ton of links all right now reacting to this QAnon thing. QAnon off of Fast Company, the alternate reality that was front and center at Trump's rally. Yeah, alternate reality. People are using facts and verifiable information to make a discerned opinion. What an amazing alternate reality that is. How about that? Another alternate reality that I experienced was optimism and hope and smiles. It was an alternate reality. Washington Post. We are Q. A deranged conspiracy cult leaps from the internet to the crowd at Trump's MAGA tour. Look at this guy right here. He doesn't look like he's leaping to conclusions much anything else. He's like, nope, don't even need to hold my sign up high because I'm chill. We are Q. You got it. This guy knows what's up. And I want to know what his shirt says. It looks like his shirt's pretty sweet. But you see what's going on. This guy doesn't look dangerous at all. He looks like a calculated thinker. Over here on Think Progress. Same date. Unhinged conservative conspiracy theory goes mainstream at Trump's rally. Uh-oh, there's a guy holding up a sign saying we are Q. Look at all those unhinged people back there. This guy looks so unhinged, he might even raise his hand and ask for a glass of Pepsi. This guy, God, I feel zen just by looking at him. Look how unhinged he is. And of course, this guy's grinning over here. He knows what's up. He follows QAnon. And this guy over here in the green, he's like, I'll unhinge for you when the moment's right. He knows what's up. These guys are chill. That's what's going on. Everybody's chill. You know why? Because we're winning. And if you want to see the face of a winner, just look over here to your president. That's a winner right there. He's like, wait till they ask me who Q is. No, okay. So you see what's going on. And finally, I'm going to finish you over here. Mediaite. MSNBC's Hallie Jackson holds insane segment on QAnon conspiracy theories. Pizzagate on bath salts? Yikes. Let me show you what bath salts looks like.
President of the United States, President Obama.
Yeah. So anyway, this is Howie Jackson, and she brings on my favorite guy, Ben Collins. Where you been, Collins? Let's see if he can sum it up for us here.
Because they're fans of it. It's the same exact thing. It's people role-playing politics. And the goal is to make it so the lives of their political opponents are just simply impossible.
The goal is that the lives of their political opponents are just simply impossible. So now you know what it feels like. That's kind of what the DNC did to the rest of the world. Okay, so you get it. This fail right here is spouting off about Q again. He doesn't know anything about Q, and none of these people know anything about what they're talking about, and it just drives them nuts that they're seeing all this win out in the crowd. It's driving them nuts that people are smiling, people are turning their TV news off, people are tuning on, people are getting educated, and they are going knucking futs over this whole thing, right? Well, there you go. All for a conspiracy? Enjoy the show. Folks, I'll say it again. Don't just enjoy the show, be the show. Q adds on to it here at Post 1786. You are now mainstream. Handle with care. The Great Awakening, where we go one, we go all. All right, well, look, I want to touch on this a little bit because I do think this is important. Yes, it's very, very clear. As you can see, this all just got released to talk about Q. They are running scared, and we know that. Okay, we've got them up against the ropes. But when you get them up against the ropes, that's not the time to slow down. That is the time to throw combos, right? Bop, 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 bop. It's the time to win the round. After all, we are now mainstream. So what are we going to do with that? What are we going to do with that? We do need to handle this with care. Because one wrong turn could turn this thing all on its head and make us look like a silly conspiracy theory. I think if you ask me what my personal opinion is on this whole thing, is I think that we need some spokesmen, people who are going to gather themselves and be able to handle this issue with care and a little knowledge and a little research. Otherwise, it would be very, very easy for them to clown us over you name it. Now, I think this is a time to get vocal. I think this is a time to speak up. After all, what this really shows us is that they're trying to wipe us out. That's it. They want us off the internet. They want us off Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. YouTube right here. I get hit. YouTube hits me probably the worst, I think, personally. But you get the idea. They do not want this message getting out. And we all know that. But what happens when we finally get that spotlight put onto us? What are we going to say? And I think that's something that we really, really need to carefully consider. Who is going to speak for us? Because if we're going to let it be President Trump, who will probably ultimately confirm at some point, we have to also understand that the burden goes on the president as well, too. Do we want to burden them? Or do we want to also be able to speak coherently and cohesively with each other, united in one message, which we know this is? After all, we're not a bunch of right-wing knuckleheads. No, we're chill. We eat cake, we smile, we laugh, we wear MAGA hats, and we wave signs, and we have fun, and we enjoy each other, and we enjoy politics, and we're loving, and we're caring, and we're truly inclusive, and we're not racist, we're loving people. And when people start to realize that, they're going to feel welcomed into the fold. We don't want to welcome them with a bunch of number codes and a bunch of things like that. That stuff's fun, but they want to feel welcome. They want to feel like this is a comfortable place to be, because at the end of the day, it really is. And for those of you who've been following QAnon for a long time, you know we've gone through some dark times, and we don't want that anymore. We want life to look like that Trump rally, don't we? And that's why we need to handle this with care and make sure that when it's really time to enter into the spotlight, and it is, that we speak well of it, we speak correct, and we speak unified about this. Otherwise, it still could come crumbling down. It's still a little bit fragile, but it's growing every day, isn't it? The Great Awakening. Where we go one, we go all. Q. Let's move on. Next post, 1787, and Anon says estimated number of patriots reached. Q responds saying worldwide, eyes on, looks like 300 to 350 million, tracking 52 to 58 million. Wow. This Anon says deletions, a warning to Steyer. Q responds, you didn't think common sense was simply a coincidence, did you? Think email, think hashtag 1776. But how did we know an article was going to be dropped later that night? Q. All right, well, do me a favor. If you're listening to this video, look at me. So I don't know exactly what we're talking about here, but Q posted some posts and then they were gone. And he took us to this link. I don't remember which one it was or who it was talking about. But evidently that guy wanted to impeach Trump, and he's paying a lot of money to do so. Now, I'm not exactly sure who that guy was again, or what he does, or who he works with. But I'm sure that if we all just use a little common sense, we can understand that Q maybe didn't want us to figure it out at the time. So I don't know exactly if we're going to be able to get a little bit more information, and maybe that'll help us build a foundation on that. And we can figure out who that person might be, Zos. Because I sure would like to know. So like I said, if we just use a little common sense, we might be able to come together, have a little heart to heart. So if you've got any ideas, maybe you could send me an email and tell me why you think that might be relative. And you can give me the sauce over there. Fair enough? Fair enough. Q says, think number 1776. Let's do that. Let's go to 1776. Yeah, we remember this from July 31st. This was published in July 31st, too. How about that? Without the pen of the author of Common Sense, the sword of Washington would have been raised in vain. That was John Adams. Good old J.A. John Adams. J.A. Interesting connections we're making here, isn't it? So, Q now finishes off by saying, but how did we know an article was going to be dropped later that night? Yeah, that is weird, and I'd love to speculate on that, but I sure wouldn't want YouTube to go banning anyone. Incidentally, if you go to hashtag 1776, which Twitter really doesn't want you to do, guess where it takes you? Dun dun dun. How about that? Interesting stuff. Let's move on. Post 1788. And Anon says, finally, someone asked about Q. Q says, who's the one person who can answer? And then doesn't even give us a chance to guess. He just says POTUS. Oh, I was going to guess, but I was going to guess POTUS, so guess it works out. Q says less than 10. Q. Well, what's he talking about?
Two quickies about last night in Tampa. First of all, does the president encourage the support of people who showed up last night in these QAnon and Blacks for Trump fringe groups? And secondly, is the White House willing to say right now, in view of what happened with one of our TV colleagues last night, that it is wrong for his most vocal supporters to be menacing toward journalists doing their jobs in a situation like that or in any situation?
On the first part, the president condemns and denounces any group that would incite violence against another individual, and certainly doesn't support groups that would promote that type of behavior. We've been clear about that a number of times since the beginning of the administration. On the second part of your question, the president, as I just said, does not support violence against anyone or anything, and we've been very clear every single time we've been asked about that. When it comes to the media, the president does think that the media holds a responsibility. We fully support a free press, but there also comes a high level of responsibility with that. The media routinely reports on classified information and government secrets that put lives in danger and risk valuable national security tools. This has happened both in our administration and in past administrations. One of the worst cases Unfortunately, it's now standard to abandon common sense ethical practices. This is a two-way street. We certainly support a free press. We certainly condemn violence against anybody, but we also ask that people act responsibly and report accurately and fairly.
So somebody finally popped the question. Somebody asked about Q. Q is reminding us that only one person's going to be able to answer that question, and that is POTUS. And then Q reminds us less than 10. For those of you who are new to Q, we'll answer that little bit in the next post, where Q takes us back to post 60, in this little graphic here from November 2nd. You can count the people who have the full picture on 2 hands. Let me say that again. You can count the people who have the full picture on 2 hands. Of those, less than 10 people, only 3 are non-military. Why is this relevant? Game theory. Okay, so outside of a potential operator who has been dialed in with orders specific to his or her mission, nobody else has this information. Operators never divulge. Remember, no outside comms. Now, these particular operators may have little bits to their mission, and that's all they really know about their mission, and they're able to share that part of their mission. But as far as the full picture, less than 10 people, you can count them on 2 hands. So how many is that?
1, 2, 3.
Okay, I'm not, so you know what? Let's just, it's less than 10 people, all right? Now remember, operators never divulge. But I want you to also remember, actors are acting. People are getting activated, and this plan is starting to take form. But the people with the full picture are very few. And that's what Q is reminding us of. I think Q is reminding us to stay the course and know that the plan is known, but if we divulge that plan, it could screw it all up as well too. Now, Q goes on to say here, mainstream equals when you are now the news. Yeah, that's me and you folks. Mainstream equals when a White House pool reporter asks about you. Yeah, at some point this has got to boil over, isn't it? Mainstream equals when coordinated attacks, waves against you continue to occur. Game theory. Yeah, and here's your attacks right here and all these links. But remember, operators don't divulge. The plan is unfolding, but if the operators went out exposing themselves right now, it would all fall apart. So the only person that's going to be able to eventually bring it all down and expose the answer to Q is going to be one man right there. I think you understand what's going on. Exciting times we live in, folks. Let's move on to the next post. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the term game theory is a branch of applied mathematics that is often used in the context of economics. It studies strategic interactions between agents. In strategic games, agents choose strategies which will maximize their return given the strategies the other agents choose. The essential feature is that it provides a formal modeling approach to social situations in which decision makers interact with other agents. Behavioral economics introduces psychology into the mix too. So now you know. Post 1790, Q adds on sample 3+, gives us 3 more articles here, and it's just more hit pieces. Q says MSM coordination, pre-planning has its advantages. Yeah, pre-planning can put people in a strategic place that when a certain reporter wants to get his hit piece out, he can get drowned out by a bunch of MAGA Trump supporters. And you got a nice strategically placed QAnon sign right in front of that camera. And poor Jim, he was having such a hard time. Poor Jim. I guess he felt like he was getting accosted. I'll be here all week, folks. Pre-planning does have its advantages. Yeah, you bet we can play this game too. Q adds on here in post 1791. Did you notice the Fox News coverage of QAnon last night? Targeted? Yeah, I noticed something targeted. Q signs. Why isn't Fox News part of the MSM coordinated blitz attack? Yeah, I didn't see him anywhere in these links here. How about that? How come Fox isn't coming out knocking Q? Q says logical thinking, POTUS. Well, I have a couple thoughts on this. Number 1, although I do believe Fox is largely still controlled opposition and not 100% to be trusted, there are elements over there at Fox that would love to uncover the truth. And I also believe that when POTUS finally comes clean and brings us all to light, who's going to be the one to ask the question? And where would that be? Now look, if Fox goes pounding on Q, they're going to lose so much of their base, their viewer base, and they know that. They're not ready to play that card. I think there's a lot of them out there that would like to, but at the end of the day, when the exposure comes through the mainstream, they're going to need a network to do it on. And it would seem to me that Fox would be, at least right now, the clear-cut channel to be able to pull that off on. Seems like logical thinking to me. After all, we know the person that has to answer this question, and that's POTUS, right? Right. Let's move on. Post 1792. What happens when you are a threat to the MSM old guard? Coincidence? Threat scare tactics deployed? Fear not, Q. And it takes you to this link right here on your favorite source for news, NBC News. Reddit announces data breach that threatens anonymity of users. Uh-oh. So we got this major website, Reddit, that allows people to post anonymously while they discuss controversial topics. And now we've got a data breach that's going to expose the anonymity of its users. Sounds like a good business model, Reddit. Way to go. Way to let that data breach happen to you. Sounds to me like you're going by the way of Facebook and Twitter. Wow. Great business model to follow. This should age very well. Well, you see what's going on. Q says, coincidence? I think not. Threats, scare tactics deployed? I don't know. Does that scare you? Not me. Q says, fear not. Well, fear not, my friends. We're stronger together. And there's the article if you want to see. But I must admit to you, I haven't read it. Yeah, okay, let's move on. Next post, 1793. An anonymous says, Juan on Fox talking about Q at rally. Q says, right after we mentioned Fox News. What a coincidence. Fishing is fun. Let's give a little listen in, shall we?
But here's the thing about last night that drove me nuts. Everybody saying, look at this rally. And when I look at the rally, what do I see? I see this QAnon people. Big time there. And these are conspiracy theorists of the...
You saw one sign.
I see, no, that's not true. I saw people in shirts. I saw Seth Rich signs, Greg. I see lots of these conspiracy.
But that's what you choose to see.
Oh, that's what I choose to see. I think
you can find the fringe. There's more fringe on the left than on the right. I don't like the fringe on either side.
For you. Why are these people attracted to Trump?
I think that it's actually an interesting question. That if there is something that is extremely popular, it often includes all sorts of different people. So you get a mainstream, normal, common sense people.
Well, thanks, Mr. Gutfield, for reminding us that we need to use common sense. And hey, Juan, appreciate you calling us big time. We've been working hard. Q says, right after we mentioned Fox News, yeah, it's weird. It's like Q asked why Fox wasn't attacking, and then they attacked. How about that? What a coincidence. Fishing is fun. You know who also likes to fish? James Comey. So listen, Juan, thanks for the shout out. I think you're number one. Let's move on. Post 1794, FISA. Well, remember, there's 3 levels to this FISA, isn't there? Number 3, DJ Rod Rowe remix. Terrible. It's all cut up, it's redacted, it's modified. That's the version we got. And then there's number 2, which is modified, slightly redacted, but still touched by Rod Rowe. And thank you to my viewer who reminded me of that. I failed to mention that yesterday. But yes, Rod Rosenstein messed with that second version too. And then there's number 1, the one we want, the Whopper with cheese. And that we don't have that yet. Now, Devin Nunes is suggesting that there are 20 pages that are going to blow your mind. And I would assume that that's what we're referring to. And I guess if it really is that damning, then public disclosure would make all of this impossible to defend. Why? Because those acts were simply illegal. And you can't really argue with that. The law is there. And a lot of that is probably going to show how all this information, this supposedly damning information regarding Trump-Russia collusion, got leaked through our alphabet agencies to the MSM. And Q says never interfere with an enemy while he's in the process of destroying himself. Good point. Good theory. And that's a big part of game theory. So, as we get these layers coming off, and it looks like it's going to be 20 pages disclosed to the public that are going to be impossible to defend. And they're going to expose these illegal activities and the involvement with the MSM, and that would explain why the MSM just went railing off of Q. And why would the MSM go after Q? Because Q's the one that told us this stuff in the first place. The stuff that they wouldn't tell us. Now let's take you over to 1795. Q takes us back to post 1764. We're not going to rehash all this, but this was our guy, Nicholas Rasmussen. He looks like a clown through and through, okay? He's wrapped up in a lot of stuff around 9/11. He's had some interesting posts in the Middle East. Counterintelligence related to McCain. Probably a big part of drumming up this information that would have led to our Steele dossier. Brennan, Comey, Clapper, all our leakers. All our clowns. And remember, this guy got replaced with this Russell. You can call him Russ Travers, and then he got replaced. Who did he get replaced by? Military guy. A military guy. Remember, folks, less than 10. So, that leads us to the approval of the FISA warrant application. And now we're seeing Rod Rowe, and it looks like he's got 2 brackets left to go. One of these seems to not be so bold anymore. Almost makes me wonder if one side is starting to reveal their layers. Not really sure. You can let me know what you think. Q says, Rod Rosenstein approves signing FISA warrant applications to extend surveillance on POTUS others. What evidence to support? Well, I have a couple guesses. I suppose it could be in these 20 pages. Perhaps it could be in the testimony of somebody that was wrapped up as an intelligence liaison to British intelligence. Either way, once we see that, it looks like it's going to snowball. After all, public disclosure would make things impossible to defend with their illegal activities. Could it be these 20 pages? Then Q says, Rod Rosenstein at White House. Was he on those visitor logs that are being hidden? What were you doing at the White House, Rod Rowe? That's so important. Why was Rachel Brand removed? Yeah, next in line under Rod Rowe, Rachel Brand went out the door to go to global governance and low prices at Walmart. Taking a sweet job. Over at Walmart? Use critical thinking. Well, that takes Rachel Brand out of the realm of succession, doesn't it? So if Rod Rowe goes out the door, who's next to step up? Because we had a temp guy, but he's only in there for so long, and then those days are done. Can't have a temp guy forever. You got to appoint somebody else. And who would be that guy that would step into that role just perfectly? Tell me down below. I think you know. Q says critical thinking. Q. And then shows us this. FISA. Start. FISA. Immediate confirmation of illegal acts. Breaks down the whole thing that this FISA foundation is built upon. And that when this reaches the outside narrative, the outward narrative where everyone gets to see what this really means. Remember, Q went caps lock on this. It was important. FISA brings down the house. And the only way we're going to get that is by a D class. And Q showed us the presidential pen not too long ago. So could it be that we're about to pump out some public disclosure? Looks like it, folks. Post 1796, Q says, welcome to the mainstream. We knew this day would come. Yeah, big time now, folks. We're in the big time. And with big time comes big time responsibility. Remember, Q said, handle with care. And now from here on out, it looks like Q is giving us a glimpse of what to expect. Looks like to me like an increase of POTUS Twitter comments. Maybe less Q posts, as they're probably going to be messing with, well, they've already messed with Reddit. So what would be next, right? 4chan, 8chan. So we may have to read more into what's going on through the Twitter comments. Liberal Democrats. We already know what to expect from them. Hate, heat, and fake news. And that fake news is going to spread worldwide. Why? Because this whole thing goes worldwide. As the United States movement goes right now, so the world goes. And the world is watching. All over Europe, all over Africa, all over the world. Everyone's tuning in watching. Do me a favor. Make a comment down below. Tell me where you're from. I've never done that before. I want to know who's watching. Fake MAGA supporters. Okay, I'm calling it right now. 72 hours. You're going to start seeing celebrities come out. Yeah, man, I'm all about Q, make America great. I was all down with Q ever since Q started doing the Q thing on the Q page. You know what's going to go on. Paige Shields, Media Matters. That's David Brock, James Alefantis, Pizzagate, Clinton, Intel infiltration, negative dissemination, MSM infiltration, negative dissemination. Folks, it looks like for the next few weeks, you're going to have a hard time figuring out who to trust. And so my only suggestion would be to condense the group of people you trust already and just stick with it. And try not to worry about whatever pops up. Twitter bot attack, we know that's going to happen. It's already happening. All the more reason to attack back on Twitter. We can be just as clever. Remember, they're just bots. Facebook, Twitter, etc. create massive amounts of fake user accounts for SB, fake user growth percentage, bot use, etc. Yeah, that's what they already got. They already got popped for that, right? They don't care anymore. They don't care about customer service. They don't care about retaining users anymore. The only thing they care about right now is protecting the ass of this operation, and it's falling apart. And they're willing to sacrifice their own businesses, their own platforms in order to do it, because they were involved the whole time. And it's all been activated in the past 24 hours. Yep, and guess what? So are you, ladies and gentlemen. You've all been activated in the past 24 hours too. It's time to put the games away and go to war. Full attack mode, brute force. False, violent narrative push. Well, I think we know what to expect from this, right? They're probably going to get violent with us, and they're probably going to try and project that violence on us. So we'll probably have these fake MAGA supporters and bandwagon shills going out and starting trouble. Why would they do that? Because it's all tumbling down right now, folks. It's all coming down. Now's the time. We got them against the rope. It's time to hit them with some combos. Enjoy the show. And on that, I got one more thing that I want to talk about real quick, because I've been getting asked a lot of questions about this, and I'm going to stay vague, and I'm staying vague for a very, very important reason, not because I'm sitting on the fence of anything. I want to be very clear. Hollywood is eating itself right now. We all know that. Now, there's some people coming out, naming a lot of names, making a lot of noise, and I've seen a lot of other channels covering this particular handful of people that are going to bring down the house. I just want to remind you, they haven't always been there, have they? I got two names for you, and you can take it or leave it. You can disagree. You can do whatever you want. Claire Bronfman, Les Moonves. I'm just saying. And if I'm wrong, I'll stand here in front of this microphone and I'll gladly admit how wrong I am. Remember, Claire Bronfman has been arrested. Les Moonves has not. I'm just saying, we might want to direct our attention to the stories that Q has directed our attention to. Let the rest sort itself out. And at the end, that's just my suggestion. You're obviously free to do whatever you like, including disagreeing with me. Either way, you're winning. You're winning, Patriot. So put your winning pants on. But remember, this isn't done. This is not popcorn time. This is time to finish the round. And you finish the round with a flurry. Are you ready, Patriot? Let's do it. Those are your Q posts today. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Sharing my video is the best way that you can help. As you know, YouTube only wants me to get out so much, so I rely on many of you these days to help get my message out, and I greatly appreciate many of you who already do. Thank you so much for all that you guys do. Keep sharing this message, and if it's not my channel, share your favorite channel or whatever you like. Keep this message going. Do not let up on the Twitter bots. Speaking of Twitter, I'm over here at IPOT 1776. That's at IPOT 1776, and I'm rather active, especially nowadays over here. I'm also on Gab at In Pursuit of Truth. I'm on BitChute as well. I'm not uploading right now because for some reason the option is not working, but I am over there if you want to join me. And you can also find me here at Real.Video. I upload here every day as well too, and if you're able to help the channel out, my Patreon link is down below as well too. All the links to all these things are down below every single time. Thank you so much, Patriots. Hang in there. You are winning. And until next time, stay laser focused.